Yes, thank you all for tuning in with me. This is Self-Care Wednesdays. Yes, guys. Yes. I hope you are making it through this week. You know, we are pushing it through. You know, no matter what is going on before you, you know, you are trying your best to make it through this week. Yes, I appreciate all of the new listeners and all of the active listeners. Yes, I appreciate you all tuning in with the Creative Lips podcast. Yes, guys, and I am your host, Regina. Yes, and this is episode number 77. Yes, it is. Yes, it is, guys. I'm pushing it through all of my episodes. Oh, my God. I'm so excited because I'm almost close to episode number 100. Yes, 100, guys. You know what I'm saying? Because, you know, I stuck in. Yes, I didn't give up. You know, no matter what obstacles that was in front of me and that are still in front of me, I'm still pushing through, guys. And yo, let's talk about today's topic. Today's topic is going to be talking about how to build up your self-confidence. And we're definitely going to be getting into that today, guys. So, all right, let's start by talking about it right now. Yes, guys. Yes, I appreciate you all once again for tuning in with me. Yes, with this episode number 77, guys, on the Creative Lips podcast. Yes, I appreciate you all. Yes, that's self-confidence. And, you know, we're going to get into talking about that today. You know, we're going to talk about how can we build up our self-confidence? How do you do it? All right, so now before I start talking about that, you know, I always like to give words of encouragement. I like to start off by doing that because we need, at least some of us need it. I know I'd like to hear it. You know, words of encouragement that can get me through the day, that can get me through the week, that can get me through that hour. You know what I'm saying? We need that, you know, and it's helpful, you know, and I like to start off by saying that whoever is listening to this episode, whatever situation that is faced before you, only you know what it is. Only you know what is faced before you. You know, only you know what obstacles that you are trying to overcome, situations that you are trying to get out of. Only you know what it is. That I'm here to tell you that no matter what it is, you will get out of. You will start. You will stop. You will see that light out the end of the tunnel, guys. You will see that light. You will see it so brightly in front of you that it will be your manifestation. That you have overcome whatever it is. Whatever it is. Whatever is faced before you, guys. It will work out in your favor in the end, guys. In the end. So I just wanted to tell you that no matter what it is, it will work out in your favor in the end, guys. So just hang on, hang in there, and you will see it through. All right? All right, guys. And now it's another thing that I always like to do. I like to give a disclaimer. Yes, a disclaimer for my Self-Care Wednesdays. Because I always like to, you know, say this. You know, it's just my Self-Care Wednesdays is just basically, you know, talking about from my own experience. This is from my own experience and my own research. You know, things that I have been through in my life personally and still going through. You know what I'm saying? Yes. Because we ain't all, you know, perfect. You know what I'm saying? No, we're not. So, you know, I just like to share my thoughts and, you know, my tips, my steps, some of the things that I have done in my life, guys. And I just want to share them with you, because that is the reason why I started my podcast, is because of that. I wanted to talk to the world and talk to you all, and to give some type of help out there, because we all need help, because you never know the things that I have went through, and how I got out of it. It might help you. You know what I'm saying?
Pull up my select.
You never know. You know what I'm saying? So it always helps to, give that advice. And the disclaimer that I want to give to right on top of all of that, I am in no way, no shape, no form a licensed psychologist or a licensed therapist. So all the things that I say on my episodes for Self-Care Wednesdays, or any episode that is geared towards mental health, is strictly from my own experience and my own opinion. So I just wanted to say that. Okay? All right, guys. So now let's get into it. Self-confidence. Yes, that word self-confidence is defined as a feeling of trust in one's ability, qualities, and judgment. Self-confidence is important to your health and psychological well-being, guys. Having self-confidence can bring many benefits at home, at work, and even within your personal relationships. It's not always easy to be confident in yourself. I know I can say that firsthand. It's not always easy to have that self-confidence, particularly if you are naturally self-critical or if other people put you down. So we're going to talk about how to build it up. How can we have that self-confidence? And how can we keep that level of confidence for good in our lives? This is the first thing that I started to do like years ago. I had to really look with deep within myself, and I had to really evaluate a lot of things and a lot of reasons why I was not, having the confidence. Number one, it was, the situations and traumas that I have been through in my life. Number two, I got into certain relationships and friendships, and I still haven't dealt with number one, the trauma. And number three, I just kept all of that bottled inside, and it eventually just shone on the outside. So what I did was I had to make myself appear to have more confidence around others. That's something that I had to do. And I really had to push myself to do that. Once I got the help that I needed, throughout all of those things, especially number one, the traumas and all the things that I've been through in my life, I had to really adapt this behavior in my life. Now, you can show self-confidence in many ways, many ways. Now, this is something that I done, once I got that all together, as far as talking with the therapist and, getting that help that I needed so that I can build up my self-confidence. It was one trick that they told me. Well, it wasn't a trick, but one tip, I would say tip, that they told me that I can do. I can start off by doing. Is I can build up my self-confidence in many ways by my behavior, my body language, and in what I say to people and how I said it. Now, they told me that I can project a positive attitude by doing this and also have a positive image to others. That can also help too as well if you can really, really hone in on that craft. You know what I'm saying? So I really had to improve in this. And eventually, once I got the hang of it, it really boosted up my self-confidence. And it's like kind of simply a matter of faking it, you know, because while I was going through my therapy and while I was getting the help that I needed, you know, it gave me a sense of feeling like, oh, wow, you know, I can do this. You know, I can project that image of self-confidence to others. And once I started doing that, I noticed a change. I noticed a change that people started to responding well to me. You know what I'm saying? They started to respond well. They started to be open. They said, oh, wow, I didn't know you could sing. I didn't know you could do this. I didn't know you could do that, because I was so closed in because of everything that I have experienced in my life, which caused me to have that low self-esteem, that, you know, lack of confidence. And I also got that positive feedback as well. And eventually, just like I said, I built up that self-confidence. It made me believe in myself all over again. Once again, in a positive way, in a positive light. You know, you can show self-confidence in many, many ways, y'all. Just like I said, in your behavior and your body language, you have to explore that subject. You know, you have to explore, you know, what works best for you in more detail. You know, because the more confident you feel, you can adapt to everything that's going on around you. You know, so now this is some things that I done right along with the body language. I did certain things, certain rituals that I would do. And, you know, and people say rituals, you would do certain, yes, I would have to do these things because I would, you know, I wanted to make myself to be, you know, to have that confidence in myself. So some things I did, I would sit or stand upright when I would walk into a room, or, you know, when I would just sit down somewhere, you know, and then I would place my hands on my sides. And when I used to stand up, you know, like waiting in the line, I always avoided standing with my hands on my hips, you know, because I also too had a chip on my shoulder, like the world was out to get me. You know, I always thought that somebody always had a vendetta against me. Somebody didn't like me. Somebody didn't hate me. You know, I just had that, all of that, you know, all of that bottled all up inside. I always had anger. You know, just like I said in my previous episode, all my life I had to fight. Yes, I was always ready to put them up. And sock you in your fucking face, you know what I'm saying?
So fucking
Which wasn't right, you know what I'm saying? But that was me, you know? But I overcame that, thank God, you know what I'm saying? Thank God I overcame that. And, you know, because if you stand like that, you know, you can come off as, you know, you're communicating to the world that you want to, you know, desire to dominate everybody. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, like I'm here I am. You see me, you know what I'm saying? What you want? You know what I'm saying? So, you know, I had to cut that out. And another thing too, be sure not to slouch. You know, it's another thing I did a lot too. You know, I would just slouch and be like, when is this shit over? You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, try your best to keep your head upright and at a good level, especially when you're talking to someone, you know, so that you can let them know that you're present and you're here. You know, don't lean too forward, you know, and especially with COVID, you know what I'm saying? And 6 feet apart rule, you know. You know, and also don't lean backward, because I done that too. You know, just like I said, I would slouch and lean back. Like, you know what I'm saying? We done yet? You know, I try my best not to do that. I try not to come off as looking too aggressive, And, I like to talk with my hands a lot. So when I talk, I like move my hands like, yeah, you know what I'm saying? So, I had to calm that down too. I tried my best to, keep my palms facing slightly toward the, whoever I'm talking to, at a steady pace, because this indicates the willingness to communicate and share your ideas. You want to show that openness to people when you have that body language, that relaxed body language. You want to try your best to do this as much as you can. Because that face-to-face communication can make you or break you. It can. First impressions. I always say this. This is what I always say this, y'all. I always say that first impressions is always the last impression. And that's true. You meeting somebody for the first time, it's always the last impression. They always are going to be, they're always going to remember you by that first time that they met you. So try your best to have a good presentation. I always say presentation means a lot. That could be with anything. That could be with yourself. That could be with your product that you're selling. It's always about presentation. I remember when I used to have my own businesses. I used to have a business in natural hair care. And I also sold natural hair care products. And for those who's listening to, shout out to y'all. I really appreciate all of y'all who bought all of my products back in the day. And I still make them, but just for people who I know and for myself. But however, I always made sure that the presentation was right, and some products I would mail to another state. So when they would open up the box, they was like, wow, I love this. This is great. It smells good, looks good, presentation's good. And that's like word of mouth. They tell their friends and another friend and another person, and that's what it's all about. It's all about presentations, or maybe too, let's flip this back, because you may be one of those shy people, or you may be unsure of yourself, but you can take immediate steps. You can, because I used to be shy too. I did. People hear me talk. You shy? Yes, the hell yes. I still am. I still have my time. But, you can make yourself appear more confident. By doing this, you can go out and engage in doing different activities. I know, certain things are not open wherever you're at, or you may still be on lockdown wherever you're at. But it doesn't matter. You can still do things. You can still go out, like go to the market, and be around people, stand at the bus stop and, be around people, strike up a conversation if you want to. Maybe talk about the weather, maybe talk about the buses, it's a lot of things that you can do, because engaging with people is very important, and it also helps you maintain eye contact too. It helps you develop that sense of feeling comfortable with developing that while you're talking to people. This also can show to them that you are interested in what is going on. And this will help you in the long run, because you're engaged. You are engaged with that conversation and you hear what they are saying, and it also shows that you're taking part in that conversation, and you're also showing up for yourself as well, but bear in mind, any cultural considerations when it comes to body language and communication, because there are certain cultures that when you do talk to people, so be wary, when you are talking to people, when you are using certain hand gestures and so forth. But on the flip side, you can engage yourself. It doesn't, if you don't say, I don't have any friends, That doesn't matter. You can still engage with people. You can still talk to people. You can still, present yourself in a good light. And then that over time develops that practice to help you develop that self-confidence in yourself. So try your best to develop these things with your body language, that face-to-face communication with people. And before you know it, you will build up your self-confidence for good. And, I always talk about this. I do this a lot in my life. I like to, use the power of self-talk, because using self-talk is very optimistic. It can help you foster, those big, those big self-compassions about yourself. It can help you embrace that self-doubt about yourself. It can help you take on new challenges. And I'm telling you, it's a world of wonders when you have that positive self-talk, because negative self-talk can limit your abilities and lessen your confidence. Once you start doing that, it could convince you or self-sabotage yourself that, you can't do it at all. Having those limited beliefs, within yourself can really, be too detrimental on your growth, and for you to try your best to overcome what you are trying to overcome in the first place, of trying to be confident. So the next time you begin to think that you have no business speaking up, for yourself in any given situation, here are a few examples that I want to challenge you, about having that nasty ass self-talk that you have about yourself. Instead of telling yourself, I can't handle this, or I can't do this shit, this is impossible, all you have to do is just try to do it. When you hear that thought come up in your mind, like, you at the gym or you, trying to do a certain assignment or work or whatever it may be, just do it. Just try it. You can try anything, and even if you fail, keep on trying, because that's all you have to do. Do what's right. Do what makes you happy. Because even if it doesn't work out, at least you learn something new. At least you learn, okay, I'm not going to do that the next time. This time I'm going to try this, and I know it's going to work. So try to have that thought that you can remind yourself that everyone has strengths and weaknesses. We all do. We're all not perfect, but it's up to you to try your best and push through and push forth so that you can come out on top eventually. And, this is the last thing that I would do. I stopped comparing myself to others. I used to do that a whole lot. I mean, people would say, you compared yourself to others. Why would you want to do something like that? But I did. I can honestly say that I did. Because whether you compare how, you would look to your friends or your family members or whatever, you can even compare your own salary, how much a person make or what they doing or where they going. If you're doing that, it's really not healthy. It's really toxic, because in fact, in a study that found a direct link between envy, that you have over whatever they got, because the way you think that people's lives is the way that is just so miraculous, so wonderful, 9 times out of 10, those same people are going through some of the same shit that you are going through. So, try not to compare yourselves to others. Because the more you compare yourself, the worse you might feel about yourself in the end. Just like I said, it's not healthy. It can be a vicious cycle. It can be a vicious cycle to where, it can turn into something that you do not want it to turn into. So pay attention to those times, that second, that moment that you feel as though that you want to compare your wealth, your possessions, your skills, your achievements, and even your goddamn attributes. You know what I'm saying? Take a second and step back and think like, do I really need to do that? Because if we really think about it, everyone is running their own race. We are all not perfect, just like I always say. And life isn't a competition. I always say that you are in a race of your own. You run your own race. You're racing with yourself. You're trying to compete with yourself so that you can be the better person that you was yesterday. So try your best to do that, guys. Try your best. And also be good to yourself, and also count your blessings and be grateful each and every day of what you have. Because the more you are grateful about what you have in front of you, hey, shit, you know what I'm saying? It may not be much, but at least you have it, and in the end, I'm telling you, you will have that confidence like none other. So try your best to do that on a daily basis, guys. I'm telling you, it will. I'm telling you guys, please, it will work out for you in the end. And I know these tips worked out for me. Maybe you, just like I said, maybe you have it all together, and maybe this can be shared with someone else that maybe need to learn how to build up their self-confidence. But in the end, I'm telling you, it will work out in your favor. All right, now to the number one tip. Now, this is the number one tip of everything that I got out of all of this. Self-confidence is vital in almost every aspect of our lives, yet many people struggle to find it. And sadly, this, just like I said, it can be a vicious cycle. To build a strong sense of self-esteem and the confidence that develops from it, aim to develop good habits and also break the bad ones, guys. Yes, break those habits right now. Look after your physical and mental health. Like, try your best to get regular exercise, try to meditate, and, make sure you eat right as well, because it can improve everything in your life if you try. Make sure that you're getting enough sleep, and also, try your best to, just keep on being good to you, guys. So if you try some of these tips and be consistent with it on a daily basis, and also put forth that hard work, and right on top of that, if you also need therapy, don't be afraid to reach out, because that's what they're there for. A licensed, trained professional can develop a plan for you, a strategy, so that you can build up that self-confidence that you have always wanted to do in the long run. So have a positive impact in your life for a change by trying to do some of these tips, just like I said, and your self-confidence will explode, and you will be impressed with yourself in the end, guys. Yes, in the end, guys. Yes, guys. Yes. So, I appreciate you all. I love you all for tuning in with me on this Self-Care Wednesdays. And you know what, guys? We will get through this. You will get through it. You will overcome whatever obstacles that is faced before you, whatever things that you are going through, no matter what it is. You will, I'm telling you, you will. You will. Trust me. It may don't look like it right now. You're probably listening to this like, I don't see a light at the end of the tunnel, but it will work out. It will. All right, guys. All right, so yes, follow me on all my social media, guys. Follow me on Instagram at Creative Lips Podcast. Yo, and also subscribe. Yes, subscribe where Creative Lips Podcast is streaming on your favorite platforms. Yes, and also leave a sister a review and that 5-star rating. Yes, come on, support a sister, and also follow me on Twitter because you want to know what, guys? I post stuff there too. All right. Until the next time.
Tables they turn just overnight.
You are now listening to episode 77 of the Creative Lips Podcast.